It's Cageside with John Morgan.
And welcome back to another episode of Cageside with John Morgan. I'm your host, Eric McMahon. This is a post-UFC 312 edition of Cageside. Now, I don't say this very often, but damn, I was wrong. I'm not going to speak for John Morgan. I'm going to let him speak for himself. So let's go ahead and bring him in. Follow him on X, John Morgan _MMA. What's up, pal?
What's going on, man? Yeah, we probably don't need to spend very much time talking about that Super Bowl because that was not a lot of storylines to break down there. That was not the most entertaining game of all times. But, I mean, I guess unless you're an Eagles fan, you probably liked it a lot. But, yeah, I kind of experienced the same thing, man. I was, talking about UFC 312 and how much I liked those title fights and how much I thought there were storylines and there was intrigue. And, I was leaning a little bit more to the DDP side than I was to Sean Strickland. So that one I wasn't necessarily shocked by. But that co-main event, man, honestly just blew me away. And like you said, man, I think we're pretty good at breaking down fights, and I just did not get that one right at all. And, man, it was watching that thing play out round after round after round. I was just like, man, I had this one entirely wrong.
We.
And a lot of people, man, to be honest with you.
She was the betting dog.
Exactly.
The betting dog.
Exactly what I was going to say. I mean, I was sitting there watching it with Justin James. Him and I were flying back from the college wrestling duel with CFFC match day that we did in Little Rock. Great one, by the way. Oklahoma State, amazing program. Little Rock, what they're building in such short time, amazing as well. But obviously Oklahoma State, man, that's wrestling royalty. But we were flying back, and he actually trains at Extreme Couture alongside Tatiana Suarez. So we were both, sitting there thinking, like, she's got this. And to see the way that thing played out, it was just shocking to both of us, man. But we were kind of pointing at ourselves and like, man, were we just too close to the situation? Were we thinking with our hearts because we're both Las Vegas guys? Like I said, he's actually in the gym with her, and I'm like, no, Justin. I think a lot of people were seeing the same. If you look at the fact, she closed as the betting favorite, so I think we weren't alone in the way that we felt about how good Tatiana Suarez could be. But I guess maybe we just all wrote off just how amazing Zhang Weili really is, because that was a fantastic performance from her.
It was a beatdown. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and start at the main event. Actually, before we start at the main event, I got to tell you, Friday night here in Memphis, WWE Smackdown was in town.
Nice. Did you make it over?
Huh?
Did you make it over to it?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I brought my 5-year-old. He's almost 6. He turned 6 this week, right? I've never seen a kid so locked in on an event. He just was like, I was in a suite on Big Time, right? I was in a suite.
Look at you.
His head like this on the suite, and he was just locked in. I mean, for the whole show. And there's this wrestler named Jey Uso, and he comes out, yeet.
Main event.
Main event, Jey Uso. I dropped my son off to school today. Right. And every time I roll down my window and I turn to him and I go, Ethan, love you. And he goes, love you. And I go like this, like, you can't see me, like John. Right. And he always gets like embarrassed and like does it like this. But today I rolled down the window and I go, Ethan. And he looks back and I go, yeet. And he goes, yeet. Like as loud as he could.
That is awesome, man. I tell you what, WWE, they put on a good show. For years, it was funny. For years, I wouldn't say I tried to distance myself from professional wrestling, but absolutely, because, man, you think about where I come from in the early days of mixed martial arts, and people would ask you, like, is that real? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Is it a real fight? And you're like, yes, And so I used to think, man, we got to make sure we're as distant from professional wrestling as we can be so people understand what the sport of mixed martial arts is. But to me, that time has passed now. You know what I mean? People understand what MMA is. They understand what the sport is. And WWE is fantastic, man. They put on a great show. Hell, they're under the same banners now. It's owned by the same company. And, obviously I've become great friends with CM Punk, working with him. And, man, the show that they put on is absolutely incredible. WrestleMania is going to be here in Las Vegas in April, which I can't wait for. So, man, they do a good job. It's just fun, man. It really is. And look, there's the entertainment side of things, man. They absolutely get it right. And if you're a fighter, doesn't do you bad to tune into those and maybe just take a little notes of how to work a crowd a little bit, how to work the microphone a little bit, because that will help you overall in your career.
Yeah, that's a little AJ, or that's a LA Knight reference there. But anyways, All right, let's get into it. We're here to talk about wrestling, we're here to talk about MMA, not wrestling. With that being said, UFC 312 was this past weekend. Dricus Du Plessis defending his world title against Sean Strickland. Now, going into this, I said, now we slightly differed, right?
Yep.
But I said I thought that Strickland was going to start edging out the later rounds and maybe start creating some distance. I could not have been more wrong about this fight. I've usually picked DDP in a lot of fights and against most of the people out there because DDP gets looked over a lot. I think people are done overlooking this guy. I think they're done questioning any of his abilities. And he is just a stud of a guy. He came out round 1 through round 5, in my opinion, won every single round. Some judge, I think a judge gave Strickland a round. Don't know which round that would have been. But Dricus Du Plessis came out. And to me, from the get-go, it looked like the power was the difference. When Strickland felt that power, he was still, he just didn't walk him down, right? And I think the power was the difference. When he walked into that power, it was like, maybe reset. Now, we still had the same game plan. Teep, jab, throwing overhand every now and again. But I remember making a note to my buddy who I was watching with. I was like, through 2 rounds, I didn't see him throwing overhand right. Yeah.
For the record, by the way, Ben Cartledge was the judge that gave him a round, who's a very, very good judge, gave him round 2. But I'm like you. I had it, basically 5-0. And I think Dricus Du Plessis, especially the second time around, because Sean Strickland is tough to fight, right? I mean, the way he is so unique in what he does, right? But there's no change to it. There's no adjustment. Like, it is who he is. Like, it's a style that's been created after years and years and years of just battling in gyms every single day. Like, when you spar that man, you're getting in a fight because that's what he does. Yeah. He just fights every single day. And he's got that incredibly unique style. It's kind of, we always kind of joke, it's kind of like a Philly shell match with like a Muay Thai leg stance. You know what I mean? It's very, very unique to what he does. And it's tough to deal with. But it is what it is. And I think, you said it, like, what's coming because that is the way it is. And while it's probably intimidating and difficult and frustrating the first time around, I think DDP knew, I know exactly what I'm going to see the second time around. And I think that's what makes it so easy to be successful. I shouldn't say easy, but easier, because there's not that mental concern of a change, of the unexpected, right? Like, I know exactly what I'm going to see. I know what the task is ahead of me. And as you said, if he doesn't even throw that overhand right, then what are we really doing? Now we're just talking about jabs and teeps at this point. Like, that's not going to beat me. So, yeah, it was a little interesting to watch, and that's why I kind of lean towards EDP. But again, I don't think you were necessarily 100% wrong in your assessment, because Sean Strickland absolutely had every chance to win. He is that dude is competitive. There's nobody on earth at 185 pounds that Sean Strickland isn't going to be competitive with, right? Because he is so tough to hit. He does have nonstop cardio. Like, he has a lot of things that go to his advantage, and he showed them again. It wasn't like you were worried that he was going to get knocked out at any point along the way. But DDP, I think you nailed it too. People got to just stop doubting. You just can't. Is it the prettiest? Is he Anderson Silva? Is he Israel Adesanya? Nope. But guess what? He is racking up those wins, man, and he's starting to put a little legacy together for himself.
100% he is. Now, I want to go to like Sean Strickland. Now, Sean Strickland did not get to walk him down traditionally like he usually does.
Right.
And prior to the fight, I was watching this fight with a good buddy of mine, Melvin. He's actually the mascot for the Atlanta Hawks, right?
Oh, cool.
And we were watching it together, and he's a huge fan and very knowledgeable. And he says the guys that gives Strickland all the problems are the ones that can steal the center of the cage from him.
Look at this guy. He's bringing MMA knowledge. Let's go.
This was prior to the fight. It was prior to DDP doing it. So, like I do, let's take a trip down memory lane. 2 fights against Dricus, effectively did that. Jared Cannonier, maybe. Alex Bahia, yeah. Then go back all the way to his 70 days. Kamaru Usman, yeah. We see a pattern here. How do you beat him? You do not let Strickland bully you.
Yep.
DDP in 2 fights has not allowed Strickland to bully him. And not only did he not allow him to bully him, he beat up the bully. He beat him up.
It's so true. I mean, that's the way you got to combat it, right? Like I said, you know what the style is going to be, but if you let him get rolling downhill, right? If you let him be in the guy that's walking forward, that's in your face, because he's not going to stop moving forward, right? I mean, he's going to be there, the jab, the teep, the talk. You know what I mean? It's all going to be there. And if you let him get kind of rolling downhill on you and put you on your back foot, it's going to be problematic. But DDP, I think him and his team were great to recognize that, and they just went out there and executed perfectly. And yeah, I mean, and it's I don't want to say it's a shame, but like, I mean, it's as long, this is one of those situations now where as long as Du Plessis is champion, I don't think people are going to be talking about Strickland as a viable contender. And like I said, no. I just said, and I mean it, and I believe it. He's competitive with anybody at 185 pounds. Like, he is not an easy out for anybody in the division, but man, you'd have to go on a heck of a run for people to be saying, got to see the third time. It was so close. It was so good. People just aren't going to be calling for it. It's unfortunate for Sean Strickland because he worked his tail off to get where he is right now. But now he's in one of those situations. It used to be kind of traditional in the UFC, right? Like, if you went 0-2 against a champion, you just kind of understood you weren't getting a third fight. Maybe that's kind of changed where people, if they're competitive. But I think we are definitely in one of those situations now where it's just like, look, as long as DDP is champion, like, Strickland's got to be looking for other fights, other matchups, other things to entertain him.
Listen, he ran the scorecards. There's no third fight. I mean, I don't see a scenario even with a working it back that you get that fight. Nobody's going to buy it. Strickland, he doesn't, he praises opponents when need be. He talks a lot of crap when need be, but he said something very interesting in the post fight. He said, this dude is a stud. He's the man.
Yep.
Let's really read between the lines. This dude beat my ass. And you know what? There's a level difference there.
Yeah.
That's what I took out of this about what he's saying, because he could not get off. He could not get any of his offense rolling. And Nixick was imploring him, please, you got to do this. You got to do that. And I'm not going to say, and nobody is going to say that Sean Strickland is mentally weak. No. So there's a difference between I'm not and I can't. He was in that I can't conversation. He even came out of the fight and said, my nose was broken in 6 different places.
That's crazy, right? Shifting his nose back into place to keep fighting. I mean, you said it. Mentally tough, as durable as he is, but you're right about that. I love that, there was some backstage tape of those two guys coming together after the fight, and Sean just saying, man, you're the best in the world. You're the best in the world. You're great. And I like that. To be honest with you, I like that, man. I like when somebody can acknowledge, like, dude's just better than me, man. What do you want me to do? Like, that was just, the man is the better fighter. So I can respect and appreciate that, but it is the truth. Dricus Du Plessis is the champion for a reason, man. Again, I think he's taking a lot of criticism from people kind of on his run, and people saying, well, it's not pretty. What's he doing? It's not. It's effective. It's effective, man. And what he does, just constant stance switching, constant moving forward. Everything he throws is with power. He's got a great grappling game as well. Didn't really have to show it here, of course, but he's got that on his side as well. So I think you're right. I think it's spot on. It's not that Sean Strickland quit. It's not that, as you said, that he just couldn't do it. Not that he didn't want to. Not that he didn't try to will himself. Not that he mentally was broken. He just realized he was facing a better fighter. And great performance from Du Plessis, man. Really, really interesting. And it opens up some interesting conversations about what's next, right? Because, man, the middleweight division has been on display, the past couple of weeks.
And I want to get there, what's next, and that's what we're going to get to next. But, you said something about the stance switches, and a lot of times when I'm watching fights with people, they start asking me questions. They start picking my brain. Why this? Why that? Blah, 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 blah. Why aren't they just doing this? Which seems so obvious, and I'm like, well, I can't, right? And so this other guy who is, like I said, watching, very knowledgeable, He just says, Strickland isn't really doing anything. And I said, Dricus Du Plessis is creating no pattern for him to do anything with. And there was one point we counted it. 5 stance switches in 1 minute. There were 5 stance switches. We counted it. And it's like, how are you going to get that rhythm when you don't know where the punch is coming from, when it's coming, and at what from direction, and at what lead hand? What is the lead hand? What is the power hand? There's so many dynamics. So it literally just, okay, I need to find a pattern. Bam! Nose just shattered.
And it's funny because Justin and I were looking at the same thing as we were watching it and noting the same thing. It's what I think is even more. It's not just stance switches. Like some guys will switch stances, but you know exactly what they're doing, right? Anytime he switch stances, he's going to throw like the rear kick or whatever. It's like he switches stances and he starts with a 1. Then he switches stances and he starts with a 2. Then he switches back. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, I know if he goes southpaw, I know exactly what the offense is going to be, right? I know exactly what he throws from there. There's no patterns to exactly what he said. You can't detect what's coming. You absolutely know. And that's so difficult, man. It's so challenging.
His head kicks out of nowhere that night.
Bro, it's funny, man. And time in the incredibly unfortunate retirement of Dominic Cruz, right? I mean, maybe not unforeseen that the end was coming. When you thought he was going to get one more fight in, he didn't get that last fight in injury. But Dominic Cruz was that guy, right? He's that one that kind of set that style. Like, I mean, different styles, of course, than what Dricus is doing, but I think he was one of those guys that really implemented, man, all that stance switching movement while you had no idea what was coming. And so because you had no idea what was coming forward at you, you had no idea how to counter at it, right? And I think Dricus Du Plessis has a lot of that in him, man. It's so challenging to deal with, man. It really does lock you up. And if it locks up a guy like Sean Strickland, that's what's been Sean Strickland. Again, you know exactly what's coming with Sean Strickland, but it's just hard to deal with because he's going to walk forward. He's not going to back down. To your point, he's not mentally weak. He's not going to break. He's just going to get in your face. He's going to talk to noise. But, man, when Dricus is doing what he does, it's so challenging and difficult to deal with, man. So, spot on, man. Spot on assessment by the NBA crew over there for sure, man. It's so challenging. It's fun to watch, man. Look, everybody criticizes Dricus for what he does, and they say it's not pretty. But if you really break it down, it is pretty, man. It's amazing to see what he's able to do.
Yeah, I remember he even threw a question mark kick at one point. I was like, damn.
Yeah. That's crazy. And like I said, and again, didn't have to show it here, but he's got some solid grappling as well. You know what I mean? So
he attempted one. He was 1 for 1 on takedowns.
He's got skills in that department as well, man. This dude is a problem at 185 pounds.
And he didn't look tired.
That's right. He didn't look tired. He actually made it all the way through. Yeah, I guess we have to put that to the side. I mean, if Sean Strickland is the unquestioned cardio king of the middleweight division, and Dricus Du Plessis just outlasted him and bested him over 5 rounds, potentially 50-45, 49-46 at worst, then you can't ask the question anymore, right? When we're breaking these things down, you don't even bring that point up. You don't even say, well, I don't know, sometimes. Nope. Don't bring it up anymore.
Now, after the fight, he makes mention or reference to, and, implies that he wants Alex Pereira, right? Goes out there. Is there anybody left? Is there anybody left? Directed at him. But in the post-fight, he says, listen, I know it's Chimaev. I'm just saying that for later down the road. I know it's Chimaev, and maybe he doesn't want to give Chimaev the rub in the cage because Dricus is smart too. Yep. He's smart. So I think possibly that he didn't want to give that rub to him in the cage. And if you can take any of Alex Pereira's shine, you do it, right? So, but he freely admits in the post-fight press conference later that night that Chimaev is the guy. He is next. Now, Dana White won't come out and admit it that night, but everybody knows. We discussed it even last week. Yep. Everybody knows that Chimaev is the guy. Do we have any timetable there?
We don't. And it's interesting because, look, obviously Nasruddin Imavov, he's like, well, what about me? I'm actually ranked ahead of him, and I just came off a big win. But as you said, we discussed it. I mean, Khamzat Chimaev is the name. It's that, you know, whether you want to say one guy is more deserving or not, fine, have that discussion. Because you can say Khamzat hasn't done enough in this division to get a title shot, and you're not necessarily wrong with that, but he's got the name, he's got the marketability, he's going to be next. You know, I would assume summertime. I mean, maybe it lines up with like International Fight Week. I mean, I do believe.
This is where I'm going. Can Chimaev fight in the United States?
Supposedly, yes. Dana's been asked and says yes. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about whether he can or not. Supposedly, there is no issue whatsoever. There is no problem whatsoever. Maybe that has to do with that new UAE passport that he's got. Maybe that helps. You know, Dana White does have a buddy in a pretty high place in the government, so I mean maybe that helps. I don't know how far the reaches go and the discussions go, you know. So you know,
he may he may have a guy, the guy.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, I don't know. I don't ask for a lot from you, old Donnie, but can you get my guy Khamzat over here? You know, I don't know how far it goes, but supposedly it's not an issue. And at this point, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like, honestly, man, Dricus Du Plessis, Khamzat Chimaev, I feel like those names are big enough that could be an International Fight Week headliner type of fight, and people would be down for that. I don't think people would be slighted by that in the least, man. I feel like these are two big superstars now, so we shall see. We shall see where it lines out.
Yeah.
You're thinking about it. You're thinking about it. You think can that? I was gonna say, can that be a man? Because to your point,
it definitely could. It definitely could. Right. 100%. But I was thinking International Fight Week. I'm like, what if you had John Jones, Tom Aspinall headlining with that as the co-main?
Now, I mean, that's massive. You're right. I get. You know what? What's funny is because you're solid, right? Like, I guess. I guess I'm not letting myself get sold on John Jones and Tom Aspinall just yet. I mean, I'm praying that it's happened, but, you know, there's been very little movement on it. There's been very little discussion. John Jones holds all the cards. It's up to him. He can make the call as he wants to. I guess I'm not letting myself get sold on that. But if you can, like, that's definitely the biggest fight you can make right now. And if you're talking about International Fight Week, you're saying what's the biggest fight you can make right now? That's the biggest fight you can make right now. So you're 100% right. But I would love to see that. I did want to point out, by the way, because you're so right about getting a little bit of that rub from Alex Bejeda. That dude is. I'm sure you saw some of the footage too. Just that dude. I've seen it in club. That dude is the biggest star in the sport right now, man. Which is crazy because he doesn't really do interviews. You know what I mean? It's just Shama. That's all he says. You know what I mean? But like, that's all he has to say. Anybody. The guy is so. Well, hey, we're talking about wrestling. The guy is so over, right? You know what I mean? Like, he is so over with the audience. Wherever he goes, that man is so loved, and it's incredible. I mean, the walkout is obviously amazing. The skills that he has are incredible. But man, it was cool seeing him be a superstar in Australia. So if they can put the right fight together, that's a big one too. So man, lot of options on the table. All
right, so just going through my mental checklist, Sean Strickland, we talked about the fight. What's next for DDP? I think the only fight right now for Sean Strickland after a nice little layoff is going to be Israel Adesanya. To run it back. They have to. I think that's the only fight out there. Because, like, listen, we both know that a third title fight isn't in the cards.
Right.
Right. And I think we can safely say that barring some miracle, another title shot for Izzy isn't in the cards either. Yeah. What makes sense? We said it last week. If these worked out the way it is, then I said that's the fight to make. It's the only fight to make. I feel more strong in that opinion now that it's the only fight to make.
I think you're right. I think you're spot on, right? Because you start looking at some of the names and you worry about, because if one half of the fight isn't fighting for a title, then what's the other person doing? You know what I mean? You don't want to beat a contender. You don't want to ruin the rise. Because listen, I mean, the UFC matchmakers will tell you. I remember Joe Silva, and I thought this was so brilliant in understanding what the matchmaker's job to do. He's like, my job as a matchmaker is not to create champions. Mm-hmm. My job is to create contenders, right? I have to create people to fight the champion. I have to make sure that there's a path for one person or another. So the last thing you want to do is take somebody that's on the rise, put them against somebody that doesn't have a chance to fight for a champion, and then you that person loses, and then what do you do? So spot on, brilliant. Like you said, the storyline's there already. It's the matchup to make, but from a UFC perspective, a business perspective, it makes sense as well. So I love that. I think you're right. I think that is literally the only fight that you want to make right now in the division for Sean Strickland.
And at this point, it's so top heavy that they're not gonna. I could see the UFC letting somebody make their name off of Strickland farther down the road. I couldn't see them doing that with Izzy.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And I don't think Izzy would allow himself to be put in a situation like Sean Strickland. If the phone rings, like he's taking the fight. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's just like what's the date? Tell me to show up. Like he won't even ask who the opponent is. But I think Israel Adesanya wants things to matter, wants things to motivate him, wants things to excite him. And if you give him one of those like kind of lower tier contenders, I don't think that's going to do it for him. So I don't think he'd allow himself to be put in that situation anyway.
Yeah, and I do think that we're going to get a Chimaev DDP sooner rather than later. I think it'll be announced sooner rather than later. All indications is that Dricus knows it. He wants it. I think he believes, and I believe, truth be told, that he's got a style that is going to give Chimaev a lot of fits as well. I do think he'll come in as a betting dog just because people are just enamored with Chimaev. But I do believe he said that he wants it to be fast too, just because he understands that he's on this run. And I think he wants to strike when the iron's quick. I think he's hot. Momentum's on his side. He's doing amazing things, but also somebody doing amazing thing is your girl who just beat down Suarez this past weekend. What about this fight? What about her performance? It is that. I'll let you go.
Bro, so blown away by Zhang Weili and what she did to Tatiana Suarez. You know, admittedly, a Tatiana Suarez homer. Like, the story that she brings, I mean, beating cancer, beating 2 severe injuries, who she is, amazing, incredible. But what Zhang Weili did was incredible. And let me say why it was more. It wasn't just incredible that she won the fight. It wasn't just incredible that it was one-sided. It was incredible in the way she did it. Like, if you'd have said if you'd have said, hey, man, I really believe Zhang Weili is going to win every round. Yeah, how's that? Because I just believe she's going to stay on the feet. She's going to stick and move. She's got better power. She's got better striking. And I don't think she's going to allow herself to get taken down. And I think that's how she's going to win. Okay, yeah, I could see that happen. I mean, I could. As high as I was on Tatiana Suarez, and as much as I believed that she was going to walk away as a champion, and as much as I wasn't alone in that sentiment because she closed as the betting favorite, I didn't hear anybody break the fight down the way that it happened, which was, you know what I think is going to happen? Is Zhang Weili is just going to out-grapple her, just beat her in every aspect of the fight. She's going to take her down. She's going to ride her out. She's going to have a lot of top position. I just didn't see that happening. And even as this fight started, I mean, Tatiana Suarez, gets an early takedown. I'm like, see, told you. I knew this. Man, I told you this is the one. She's undeniable. And then Zhang Weili gets the sweep late in the round, right? And it's still not Tatiana Suarez won the opening round, but I'm like, well, that was wild. Like, man, she got out.
I actually think she lost the opening round too because she did no damage on top. And Zhang Weili did. She switched and she just started battering. Albeit that it was a big disparity in time on top and in duration. But I think the damage that she did impose, I think she took her will in that exact moment. That was the moment that it took Suarez's will.
I don't hate that assessment at all, to be honest. As I said, I was sitting there watching with Justin James, a teammate who's got all the motivation in the world, cheering for somebody who's been on the mats with. And we both kind of said the same thing. We were like, I think that's around, but like, you can't know that for sure. In fact, I said to Justin, I was like, if you're in the corner right now, you can't say for sure that you won that round because exactly what you said. She got on top, but she didn't do anything with the position, right? She just dominated the positioning and didn't do any damage. And you're right. Man, Zhang Weili, unbelievable. I mean, literally, it was, and I've been blown away by her skills so many times. Even coming into this, we talked about it last week in the preview. I said, look, I feel confident in Tatiana, but I can't believe I'm saying this against Zhang Weili. I can't believe I'm saying this against Zhang Weili. And boy, didn't she show, yeah, you shouldn't believe that. You shouldn't have said that. You can't believe it because I am that good. I mean, man, you're starting to talk about big-time discussions of where she stands all time now at this point.
Well, so, let's take a trip down memory lane again. Zhang Weili is so good. Better than we gave her credit for.
Yes.
She outstruck Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and she out-freaking grappled Suarez. Think about that.
That's unbelievable.
She outstruck Jędrzejczyk and out-grappled Suarez. In two separate fights over the course of 5 years.
It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. I mean, that fight with the Jacek, obviously one of the greatest fights of all time. I mean, that was unbelievable. That enough right there should have that fight right there should have been enough for me to be like, you know what? I'm never picking against Zhang Weili again. Sorry, just never picking against her again. Unbelievable. One of the best fights in UFC history. And then to be able to do that, to outstrike the greatest striker in the division's history, to out-grapple the greatest grappler in division's history. Unbelievable. I don't have enough words to give her the accolades that she deserves. It's just, this performance was unbelievable, man. It really was. And it just, again, it was the style. It wasn't just the fact that she won. It was the way she won it that made. And you know what? If she'd have beat Joanna Jacek because she took her down 5 rounds in a row, you'd be like, all right, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Like, good. So, very impressive. But man, that was this. It was the, you know, if she'd have outstruck her and just stayed on the feet the entire time, you go, well, yeah, styles make fights, et cetera, et cetera. No, I'm gonna go with what you do best, and I'll beat you there. It literally, I will say, by the end of the fight, I say, you know what? That's John Jones stuff right there. That's John Jones stuff where you go in there, and I'm gonna take what you do, and I'm just gonna beat you there. I'm not gonna devise a game plan, because I always say, when you devise a game plan, what should you do as a mixed martial artist? You should identify where your opponent is the weakest.
Easiest path to victory.
That's it. Where's your opponent the weakest? That's where we're going to compete. Like, I know what you're good at. I'm not going to fight you there because that's dumb. I don't want to do that. She's the exact opposite. She's like, John Jones, what do you do best? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that away from you. I'm going to take away your weapons so that you have none. I mean, that's just next level stuff.
So we could go round by round and say what she did, but she beat her up everywhere. She beat her up on the feet. She battered her on the ground. Suarez, she was gassed after round one, and I got to give her credit. I mean, she stuck in there. She had many opportunities to quit, and she refused to quit. So I have to tip my cap to her in that regard. She had a nasty cut on her knee.
Yeah.
What was that? And where did it come from?
So I saw afterwards, like I said, I was on a plane coming home, and I saw some people on social media, and I have not gone back and identified exactly what it was, but said it was an early grappling exchange where it grazed against the fence, and the fence is what caused it, which amazing. Again, sitting there watching with Justin, like, that, what is that? I was like, that had to be knee to knee or knee to shin or something, right? Because that was not the type of cut that you would get from a kick or a foot or something like that. But I didn't go back and watch it, but I saw people saying that a fence was actually what caused it. And that thing was nasty, man. It was a pretty big slice there.
Yeah, it was gnarly. I was actually another guy. I was watching with a couple guys, and one was like, "Where would you even get a cut like that?" And I said, "Well, it could have been like some weird leg check. I don't know." I said, "Or the cage," and they're like, "The cage," and I'm like, "Dude, I've seen some bad cuts from the cage."
Yeah,
I have seen some really bad cuts from the cage,
especially, and it doesn't happen a lot at the UFC level because they use a very nice like coated cage. But there's stories. I mean, I remember Jason Knight talking to me about his debut was like it was like literally just like a dog cage, and so it's just like literally fence. Like they didn't even get like the nice coated version of it. You know, it's just like regular gating or whatever, and you rub your back up against it or whatever, and it slices, it's open. So yeah, that can happen. It doesn't happen very much at the UFC level because they get that really nice coated cage that they use.
Yeah. But man, just I really thought that that she was going to get the finish in that fight because she was hurting her so bad on the feet. But then Suarez would try and close the distance, grabbed her, and she then would get taken down. And it was rinse and repeat. I don't think we need to cover it all that much more because, you know, what can you say?
Nah, I agree with you, man. As much as you and I love breaking down fights, I mean, that was a fight that was just utter domination. And you said, Tatiana, I mean, look, her story is incredible. What she's done, as we said, cancer survivor, you know, a couple of horrible injuries that she's had to deal with, never stopped, got herself to this point. She didn't quit here. She had every opportunity to quit, but you could see the exhaustion. I mean, by the end, the takedowns weren't being set up at all. They weren't even, I mean, it was just like reaching down. And I mean,
that was in round 2. The
I know.
Takedown wasn't being set up. Did you see that one? You just like,
I know.
That is somebody who is dog tired and I'm just praying I can get it to where I need to get it.
100%. Exactly. It really is. When you see anybody do that in any weight class, any division, you know that they're exhausted at that point, and she was. So as I said, she pushed till the end, but no domination. We don't really need to break down the fight. I guess that, you know, what do you do afterwards? You break down the fight, and then you look at what's next, and that is where the discussion also gets interesting for me. With
so
Zhang
what
Weili
could be next? There's nobody right now in the division. Is a Shevchenko? Is there meat on that bone?
That's what gets interesting to me, right? Because you're right. I don't think there's any matchups. Because listen, if we're just sitting in the room and we're saying who's most deserving right now, it's Valentina Shevchenko, right? That's who's next for Zhang Weili. But now we're talking about selling tickets, and now we're talking about getting people excited. And I just don't think that matchup does anything because she's beat so many other of the contenders in the division. There's nobody really fresh left for her. Verena's ranked number 3. She's on a nice win streak. She's the one to go with right now. But I just don't see that selling fight. So I think the idea at that point is, yeah, you got to go with Valentina Shevchenko. And I know, because again, I looked at 25, and I'm a Manon Fiorot fan. Like, I like Manon Fiorot. Like, I think she's been one of those, maybe not the biggest star, doesn't speak a lot of English, obviously French language, but from the very time she came in, she's dominant, she's big, she's aggressive, she's fun to watch fight, and she has earned herself a shot at Valentina Shevchenko. But, I mean, take those 4 together if you want. Say you've got Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko and Valentina Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. 2 phenomenal title fights, 2 very much deserved title fights. Great. But now if I tell you, or we can just scrap 2 of those and we can do Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko, which one you going with? And I believe everybody says Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko, man. I think that is the biggest fight you can make right now in the women's division. So interesting decisions for the UFC right now and how they want to approach it.
It's the only fight to make for her.
Right?
The only one. And really, let's be honest, like Shevchenko, like she needs that bolt of electricity into her as well in that. It's the only fight to make.
I think so, man. I think that's the one you go with right now. I think that'll get people buzzing. Let
me ask you this though, because I've been this is the one thing that could hurt that potential matchup. With an expansion into Asia, with she's a star. She is a star. She was trending number 1 on X and, all this stuff in the Asian market, all these things. Putting her up against a Shevchenko with going to be severely undersized there, right? Against, possibly in the consideration for one of the greatest women fighters of all time. Going to probably come in at a sizable dog. Would you risk that in your Asian expansion?
It's a good question. It's a really good question, right? Because I think we saw this a little bit with Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes, right? Which is interesting because, Amanda Nunes, I love it. I mean, they had a couple of amazing fights, but Amanda was just always the bigger, stronger, more difficult to deal with. Like, you just kind of always knew that way it was going to go. But that was very early, too, in Valentina Shevchenko's run before she was so well established. So, it's a good one, man. It's a good one. As you said, I mean, I think you nailed it. You said this is the only fight to make. And because it's the only fight to make, I think it's worth the risk. If there were other options where you were like, man, we could go this way, but you just nailed what the downside of it is. But if you're like, well, we got 2 options, and here's the downside with this option, so let's go with, option 2, because that'll look a little bit better. But I just don't think there is option 2 right now. So I think you roll with it. And I do believe that the Zhang Weili is that type of athlete where it's like, even if she went into that fight, and let's say she got, for whatever reason, she got dominated. Let's say it was 5 rounds to none. I think she is the type of athlete that lives it, and it's true. It's just like, hey, I challenged myself for greatness, right? This was always going to be a tall order for me. This was always going to be difficult, but I wanted that opportunity for not just to be, good, but to be great, and I did it, and it didn't go my way. So guess what? I'm going back to 115, and all y'all girls better look out because it's still mama's house right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, she can still go back and done. So yeah, I think you raise a great point, but I think because I just don't see an option B where you're like, well, it's a little bit less enticing, but it's pretty good. I just think option B is so far below that nobody's going to go for it.
Yeah. Now we're just looking ahead. next week or this coming weekend, we got Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodrigues from an Apex. Really don't need to talk about that all that much. I can tell you this, though. In 2 weeks, I am utterly looking forward to Henry Cejudo and Song Yadong. That is a fight that I am giddy to see.
It's funny because I agree with you. Obviously, listen, Cannonier, Rodrigues, going to be a solid fight. Two great athletes in the division. As we said, middleweight division has been on display, the last month or so, people trying to make moves. But it's not who's next. It's not, what's the number one contender. We kind of laid out all the scenarios. But I agree with you. And honestly, when Cejudo versus Song first got announced, I remember looking at that going, what? Give respect to Henry Cejudo, man. For Henry Cejudo to be willing to come back and take that type of fight, you know what I mean? To not say, oh, no, I'm not fighting this guy who has, no name like mine, who certainly isn't of the value of what I've accomplished. Like, I think Henry Cejudo, honestly, I think Henry Cejudo would be well within his rights if that was the fight that was offered for him and he just looked back to the matchmakers like, come on, dog. You're kidding me, right? Like, I'm not fighting that. Nah, I'm good. Bye. I'm going to keep doing my podcast and see you later. He took the fight, man. So I love it, man. I'm very, very intrigued by this fight as well.
The co-main on that card, too. Brendan Allen and Fluffy. Our boy Fluffy, Anthony Hernandez. Fluffy.
Love that fight too, man.
Be a fight. That is going to be a fight.
I'm telling you right now, you're spot on with that, man. Fluffy is amazing. Brendan Allen just consistently underrated, man. The record that he's put together, the victories that he's racked up over the years, man. That is that dude that was always like the next name out when you're talking about. Again, we'll just keep talking about this middleweight division, but it was like all these names, and he was always the one that was kind of just outside of everybody that you're talking about. So, man, if he can win this against a very, very tough Fluffy Hernandez. Look, he starts getting his name in these big matchups as well. I mean, 185 right now, it's gotten very, very interesting, very, very intriguing. So I'm loving that one coming up. Busy month, man. Busy month coming up. There's a lot of big fights coming up, man. And some announcements made, a return to Canada, a return to Mexico. I mean, after our little layoff, our little winter slowdown, the schedule is heating up now for sure.
I'm here for all fist fights between humans. We say we're going to get some pay-per-view main events announced very shortly from Dana White, so I'm really anxious to see what those are. But I think we just put a bow on this episode. I mean, don't doubt Dricus anymore. Let's just say this is a Dricus. Is it Dricus?
It's kind of in between there, which makes it impossible. But he's look. Hey, I think we've been riding the DDP fan club for a while, like trying to tell people, like, man, this dude is just so cool. He's like, I love talking to the guy, man. He's just got this energy about him. But yeah, you got to, because I think a lot of people forever have just been saying with Dricus, like, hey, he's good, but he's not that good. No, he's that good, man. He's that good. He's starting to build a legacy now. He's still a long way away from being one of the all-time greats, but you keep racking up title defenses, man, you could get there pretty quick. And that dude doesn't seem to be afraid of anybody. And I'm anxious. To me, I want to see him and Khamzat Chimaev. I really, really do. And again, I don't want to take away from Nasruddin Imavov. That could happen as well. But him and Khamzat, and oh, by the way, I mean, you and I usually talk about the fights themselves and the stylistic side of it I'm excited for. But the build up to that one is going to be fun, man. Dricus is not afraid to talk a little bit. Dricus is not afraid to have a little swag.
He's not afraid to go to taboo topics either.
So spot on, man. So good. What? How about Sean?
Watch your opponents cry.
I tell you what. Probably the only downside of how good DDP was is that we don't get to see Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev next too. Because my God, you talk about the way Sean did on Khamzat. Oh my God!
National security. It'd be a national security threat if
I cannot believe, man. Sean went in hard on Khamzat Chimaev. If you didn't see that in the lead up, these are probably not the right airways for us to be saying what Sean Strickland said. But that was pretty incredible for the build up. But look, it's going to be intense. So I hope. What do I say? I hope That's the fight they're going to make next. That's the fight.
And I can tell you this. If Dricus were to get by Khamzat Chimaev, the UFC is strapping a marketing rocket ship to his back. He has every intangible that you want a poster boy to have.
Yo, unbelievable, man. That guy. Oh man, it's it will be wild because it looks like it's probably going to happen, right? Like the first UFC event in Africa is going to be him as the headliner, right? Which is, kind of unfortunate when you think about all the African champions that they had. It's kind of sad that they didn't get the opportunity to do it because I know how much it meant to all of them. But DDP, man, he is building his own legacy, man. He is carving that out. As I said, he's damn good, man. If you're going to doubt him, do that at your own risk, man. And like I said, I think from now on, when we break down fights with them, especially, I mean, when we break down Khamzat, when we start talking about that fight, I mean, I'm just thinking about mentally in my head, you wouldn't even talk about the cardio, at least on the DDP side. You would be talking about it on the Khamzat side, right? I mean, nobody's ever said, well, if Khamzat can just bring this guy to the 5th round, like he'll drown him there. Like, no. So man, I'm getting excited. Just the opening 5 minutes of that fight. Fireworks, insanity, man. It's going to be nuts. So I'm still thinking, man. I'm still thinking International Fight Week. I think that fight's big enough. I think it's International Fight Week. But if it's John Jones, Tom Aspinall, you take a back seat right away, obviously, and then you can go somewhere else with it. But unless they've got Africa in the cards this year, and then you take it to Africa, which would be incredible, man. That would be a great main event. I don't know if it'll happen. I mean, they keep talking about it. Obviously, it's been something they've been working on for years, so you could take it there, but it's got to happen. That fight is happening sometime this summer.
Let's go. I'm here for it. All right. Well, with that being said, you got anything coming up we need to know about?
Hey, it's kind of a slow week, we do have the UFC this weekend, but I will be on the mic this Friday night for Tuff-N-Uff, a Valentine's Day special here in Las Vegas.
Love that promotion.
Great one, man. But it's crazy. I was talking to my wife about this the other day, man. Like, started working for those guys. Obviously CFFC is my home, but Tuff-N-Uff, man, I've been working with those guys for 16 years now, man. I started working with them when I moved out here in 2008. So, for the longest time, they were just doing amateur fights. Now they're doing pro-ams. Now they're on UFC Fight Pass. I called Ronda Rousey's fights as an amateur when she came through there. So they do fun stuff. So that'll be my Friday night. And then, of course, I'll be at the Apex on Saturday. We're also getting the Ultimate Fighter Media Day this week. So we'll get to see the cast of the Ultimate Fighter. I'm anxious to see, because I've heard some rumblings of some guys from CFFC that may have been called and selected for that. So I'm anxious to see what they confirmed for the roster. And it also means that we'll get a little bit of time with Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen, which who doesn't like standing in front of those guys for a little bit, right? I mean, I thought those were great selection as coaches, man. I mean, I think the entertainment that those guys bring, just as coaches, they're both incredibly knowledgeable. Like what they bring to the game is amazing. But in terms of TV and fun, I think it's going to be a good season of The Ultimate Fighter.
It seems like there's going to be a lot of pranks going on.
Oh, you know it, man. Like all good natured, no hard tension where it's like, oh my gosh, this is getting dark, this is getting terrible. Like, those guys are going to mess with each other, man. They love doing that kind of stuff. So I'm really, really looking forward to the season of The Ultimate Fighter. So we got a media day on Wednesday for that. And then I said, like Friday, I'll have Tuff-N-Uff on UFC Fight Pass. You want to watch that. And then Saturday, of course, UFC at the Apex. And then next week it'll be back out for the last CFFC match day event of the season, man. By the way, I just shout out Oklahoma State. Unbelievable, man. The depth that they bring.
They are very, very good, John.
They're so good, man. I mean, it's crazy when you really start diving in their numbers, man. 34 national championships as a program. I mean, that is unbelievable. But man, they came to Little Rock, and I can't sing enough praise for Little Rock either, man. Especially right now, as you have like colleges that are cutting wrestling programs and getting rid of things, to know that they didn't even have a team 6 years ago, and now they're ranked. And through 5 matches this past weekend, they were leading. Little Rock was ahead after 5, and then of course you saw the depth of Oklahoma State. It's just that's the hard part against going against a team like Oklahoma State, right? It's like there's no weak spots on the roster. Like you don't look at anywhere. You look at matchups and you look at the 10 divisions, and you're like, we could win here. We might win here. We'll be competitive here. But there's no spot where you look at and you go, well, that's 6 points. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to happen. So they brought it in the back half of it, and they locked it up in the 9th. And then Wyatt Hendrickson at 10 was amazing. But it was just cool, man, to see that program up close. And David Taylor. I mean, that dude is a first-year coach. I was joking with Shane Sparks because David Taylor, Olympic gold medalist, 3-time world champion, 2-time Division I national champion. He actually commentated for us on CFFC Match Day. He did a couple of duels, and so I was laughing with Shane Sparks ahead of time. I was like, "What about this David Taylor kid? Right? Like, couldn't cut it as announcer, so he had to settle for this gig right here, like coaching Oklahoma State." So it was fun, man. I love being a part of Match Day, and it was cool. So I just want to give a shout out to both those programs because it was awesome to be a part about that. How about you? Busy? I'm busy as always, I imagine, inside and outside of the office.
Yeah. So Saturday is going to be a slam-packed day for me. My son Ethan turned 6. We rented out the American Ninja Warrior gym here for his birthday party. It's going to be awesome. And then that party wraps up. I got to bolt it out of there. I am reffing a Attitude MMA card that night, and Attitude MMA on the LFA Fight Network on their YouTube channel. It's going to be a really, really good card, headlined by your boy Raheem Rambo Forrest, making his return to the cage. And then the co-main event, a name that you may or may not have heard, but you should hear it moving forward a lot, especially if he can get through this opponent, taking on some guy from Atlanta who I heard is a beast that nobody will fight, but a kid named Paul the Wrecking Ball Kimball is the co-main event. Write that name down, John Morgan. Paul Kimball. He is another law school MMA product, same gym that Danny Barlow comes out of. And he's Danny Barlow's main training partner. Danny Barlow brings him everywhere with him, because he's that good, right? So when he's going anywhere to train, Paul Kimball goes with him. Paul Kimball's cornering him, and he's the co-main event on that fight.
I love it. We'll be on the lookout for that one then for sure, man. I love it, man. I love to see that kind of next generation, right? I mean, you know, you and I are hardcore fight fans, but I love seeing kind of the next guys up and seeing who we need to be paying attention to. So good stuff, man. And by the way, your kid. Look at that. Come on, man. Like 1 week he's like in a suite at WWE. The next he's got the American Ninja. We just spoil our kids, don't we?
It's what you'll do for your children is ridiculous. And, you know, I work for the Memphis Grizzlies, so he gets like behind the scenes access all the time. And he's like, I look to my wife and I'm like, dude, I could have never fathomed this. And you said something about WrestleMania. I need to bring it up. My ultimate goal is, maybe he's not ready for it yet, but 3-4 years from now to bring him to a WrestleMania. That wasn't something I could even fathom when I was a kid. It would have been my goal. So it's still my lifelong goal to go to WrestleMania. And now I plan to take him to it at some point. I have a core memory of my dad, and when I was his age, taking me to see Hulk Hogan. It is a core memory I have. Wow. And I was able to take my son to see Cody Rhodes, and it is going to be a core memory for him. But that's what we do for our kids.
That's so cool, man. It's funny you say that. Like, I had this memory of me and my dad the first time, the old Texas Stadium where the Cowboys used to play before they tore it down. But like, it was against the Cleveland Browns, and I just remember. And even my dad is like, I can't believe you remember that. You were like 5, and I'm like, I know, but I don't know. You're with your dad. You're at a big sporting event like that, man. It's in you, man. So I'm excited. Yeah, I really am excited for WrestleMania too. I had such a great time when CM Punk was with AEW at the time and got the title at T-Mobile Arena, and I thought that atmosphere was electric. I've never been to a WrestleMania either. Obviously not, a huge wrestling fan over the years, but because of CM Punk and working with him with CFFC, I've become one.
It's clobbering time.
Bro, I can't wait to see that in a stadium. I mean, to see that at Allegiant Stadium, like that type of atmosphere, because WWE puts on a great show, man. So I'm super excited for it for this year. You know, couple months away now, two months away. I'm really looking forward to it and having the family out there. And yes, one more time, spoiling the kid, because that's what we do, spoiling the kid.
Yeet. Well, with that being said, for John Morgan, I'm Eric McMahon. Enjoy the fights.